Come on in a minute, and we are live. Hello, everybody. So today we're going out to a couple of different social media platforms. So welcome everybody from YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. I will warn you, we do have another person joining right now, and Bethany's with us. Hey, Bethany. Devaney, sorry. It says right there. You'd think I would just read the thing.
I was like, who's Bethany?
Sorry.
Well, since I last talked to you, I've had a little bit of a change. No.
Oh, man. Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
It's certainly been Monday so far. So let's hopefully we can make it better.
I feel that. Yeah.
So a lot of interesting stuff going on in social media lately, and I wanted to kind of get some folks together like yourself and Doug and others to start talking about the dreaded algorithm. Everybody blames the algorithm for their messages not being seen, but there's ways to work with it and there's ways to fight it. And, in our business space, and I'll let you guys talk a little bit about it. And Devaney, I'd love to start with you. In our business space, you can try to beat the algorithm up and say, oh, it's against me. Oh, woe is me. It's terrible. It's terrible. Help me. Or you can just learn what the algorithms are and work with them because they're really there to help you find your audience. And you got to get the right message to your audience. And that's really all it is. So I will let you take it away with your opinion on the algorithms and whether or not they're friend or foe.
Oh,
and any changes or differences you might have seen over the last between platforms, especially because I know what works on Instagram doesn't work on Twitter, doesn't work on LinkedIn. It's different, right? The algorithms are just different. So why don't you tell everybody what you do and why the algorithms are not that bad once you learn them.
Man. So I've been in social media for 12 years. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I think that the idea that even at like my level of marketing, having been doing this for over a decade, that we could understand something as complex as data science that is specifically built on predictability and statistics on user behavior is a little bit comical to me. I see algorithms more as a foe than a friend because it seems like a fallback for my clients who are like, how do we make sure we go viral? Isn't there like a way that you can game the algorithm or game the system for that? And there really isn't. The main focus should always be content, your content.
I will absolutely agree with you there because I've had people come to me and I work in the startup space, right? So Doug and I know investors and I've had people come to me with brilliant ideas for a company. Like, oh, we could build this thing. It's like, okay, where's your marketing plan? Oh, we're just going to go viral. Yeah. No.
You could just do.
I will tell you right now, almost nobody goes viral without a plan. It happens every once in a while. But like the woman, remember the woman with the Chewbacca hat thing where she was laughing? I guarantee you that was like her sixth take. Right? That was not like a one-off, right? So nobody goes viral without a plan and a whole lot of luck and a lot of people working with you. So
yeah,
exactly right.
I think like the biggest thing to focus on is your content strategy, right? Because if you're not producing the right kind of content that is engaging and entertaining your audience and the people you're trying to reach, then what's the point of even trying to learn what the algorithm is? If you're not serving them the type of content that they're finding valuable or that they're finding, fun or whatever it might be. It's you could, hashtag and post at the right time and work yourself into a frenzy trying to make sure that you're hitting all the checkpoints of what the algorithm might say that you need to do. But if your content sucks, then you're SOL, you're dead in the water regardless.
Content is absolutely king, right? So I mean, I could go out and say something funny and people will not care, but if it's sort of a mix, at least I found, where like take X or Threads, I can have the right text there and that's kind of neat, or I can have almost the right text with a really good image and that's much better. Mm-hmm. Right? Now video on either of those two platforms almost always goes just about nowhere.
Yep.
But video on YouTube or Instagram, TikTok goes everywhere, right? So you have to know the platform and know what the audience on that platform cares about, which is why analytics becomes your sort of second best friend, right? So it's like you go look at your account, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what works better than others. It's like Doug, you were talking about the other day on another live stream, the stuff with your wife's piano company and piano teaching group. You want to go through that again?
Well, sure. I mean, again, and it's so yes, content is king. No disagreement there. Completely agree with you guys. But it's also creating a theme and a through line and some regularity and relatability. That's a lot to say, but the idea is that once you've got this audience and you've got good content going, keep it going and keep it consistent to where it grows your following, and everybody that responds to your content, comments, DMs, engage them right away, because that's just gonna seems to be what's working on all the algorithms, regardless of the platform, to drive you up, to find even new followers and a new audience to grow. But I think it's consistency is really key. So it's you develop good content, and now you find a good what's clicking with people and what you like producing, because otherwise you're just going to drive yourself miserable. Yep. And then rinse, repeat, and you do want to explore and push outside boundaries, but give people a what's the word I'm looking for? Sense of comfort, sense of normalcy, sense of
authentic experience.
Yes, authentic experience, and they know what to expect coming back to your channel and look forward to it because it's good content, right? It's like, oh, I want to go check out this YouTube channel this week because it's going to be a new whatever car wash detail, or oh, hey, Teresa is now releasing her weekly student of the week or her weekly music tip on how to get better at playing piano. Oh, I know it's coming out on Monday, so consistency, I think, is another piece of the equation.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said for having a calendar and having posts planned and scheduled and carved out to create content that you enjoy and that that your audience will enjoy. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that there isn't, especially for Instagram or TikTok, that's not to say that we know Instagram will show your post to a percentage of your followers, and if they engage, then it will continue that growth. There are key things in social media algorithms that you can look for and you can strive for. I laugh a little bit when everybody is like, oh, what's the Facebook algorithm like these days? Well, who knows? I'm not an engineer. I have no clue. I don't ask Zuckerberg. That's not what I'm here for.
and what's funny is we reverse engineer it, and as soon as we kind of get a handle on it, they change it. So it changes constantly. And even with Twitter now kind of leaving their source code public. I mean, you can go look at it so you can actually see the algorithm. It makes shifts all the time. It's just constantly being tweaked. And people are like, oh, the algorithm is gamed against us. It's not. What the algorithm is there to do is to make sure people stay on that platform as long as possible. It's not there to drive them away. It's not there to make you angry. Yeah. So what I've seen in the last sort of 6 months on the hey, let's just deconstruct the side is it's been given favorable. All of them across the board have been giving kind of favorable placement to positive messaging instead of angry stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're constantly angry and upset or going for that rage clickbait, it's not your best friend anymore. It's going to downgrade you. And then, of course, you're going to go complain about the algorithm and be angry. It's like, oh, it's downgrading me because insert crazy rant here. Well, it's not. It's trying to get people to stay on the platform, not get mad and leave. Yeah. Right. So that's its job, is to connect you with an audience. And if you're making people mad and making them log off, guess what? You're not going to get seen. You're just not.
Well, and to your point, I've seen on LinkedIn too. I know there was a big thing last year about links, outside links on LinkedIn, and how they were kind of almost shadow banning people who were posting to their own websites because they don't want you to leave the platform. And then it became a whole, you see the comments for the link type of situation. And now LinkedIn's even turned into almost a mini blogging personal blogging platform, which is those posts I see on my feed all the time going crazy. And they're it's like someone sat down and wrote 1,000 words that morning and decided they needed to post it on LinkedIn. And now it's got hundreds of thousands of views. So
interesting point, because external links are sort of the kiss of death on every platform. So even X, I'm trying to remember to call it X instead of Twitter. I'm getting better. But even on X, for a while, you could post a link inside your thing. But recently, I think it was 2 months ago or something, back right around Thanksgiving, it made it where if you put a link inside your first one, you didn't put it in the first comment. I mean, I've got a pretty decent sized Twitter account. Most of my stuff will be seen hundreds, if not thousands of times. And I routinely get tens of thousands of views on different posts because I got, 12,000 followers or something. Thank you guys. Love you. But if I post a link inside of the first one, like you have your main post and you have you can leave the first comment. If I put a link inside that first one, it gets seen by tens of people. Right, so it is clearly not in your best interest on X anymore to do that, and absolutely the same for Facebook, Instagram. You have to leave it in the first comment, all kinds of stuff. And this is one I uncovered the other day, and I'd love to get both you guys' take on it. YouTube has this great channel where they actually talk about their algorithm. Right, so if you want to learn about YouTube's algorithm, YouTube runs a channel that says, "Here's what we're doing in the algorithm." Right, so you can learn it pretty effectively. They actually are now downgrading posts that use clickbait thumbnails that have things in the thumbnail that are absolutely not in the video.
Yep. Good.
I read that article. They started that in India, and now they're spreading it out. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's clickbait is going to become a thing of the past. And if that's what you've been doing over there to get your audience, guess what? You've now just been downgraded by the dreaded algorithm that you're not going to like, but I'm going to love because I see your thumbnail and go, oh, cool. That's what I want to see. And then I watch this 12-minute video and I'm like, you bastard. That's nothing here. Right. So I heard Facebook is going to follow suit with that because they've had a lot of people with some bad clickbait. Like I came across one over there that made me mad. Actually, it was like the 5 worst actors to work with in Hollywood and a picture of Steve Martin. I'm like, no way. So I click it, I sit through this thing, and I'm like, Steve Martin was not one of the 5, but they used him as clickbait to get me because I'm like, who don't like Steve Martin? I mean, come on.
Let me guess, there were ads all over that webpage too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There were ads all over that website. Yeah. So it was like I was so mad though. But those things are going away. And over on X, they tweak that algorithm, I think, every week at this point. They're just completely in there messing with it. And their analytics are changing constantly and they're getting better, but they were kind of so broken there for a while, it couldn't have gotten worse. But they've actually now started allowing monetization of things, which is another thing. I'd love to hear in your business space. Do you have people who actually are monetized folks, or are they just trying to get messages out?
I tend to like steer people away from monetization, especially because most of my clients are businesses themselves. Mm-hmm. So monetization is a little bit, it's not quite in our wheelhouse as far as like B2B social goes. That's not to say that if I knew a content creator that was like yourself who had a bunch of followers and wanted to test it out, I'd say, yeah, go for it. Great. But for most of my clients, it's not really like an option for us.
Are most of you guys e-commerce or brick and mortar, or is it just a mix of both?
It's a mix. I have a couple of like restaurants. That's my like most brick and mortar that I get. But for the most part, a lot of them are like SaaS or just B2B. One of them facilitates small business loans. It's that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I'm seeing it a lot with the content creators now. I follow a couple of the nerd vlogs and whatnot, without naming them, but they're all starting these now.
Doug's a really big nerd. It's okay.
I just threw my son a Lord of the Rings themed first birthday, so you're in good company.
Awesome. But yeah, I'm seeing them all do these subscriptions now, and they're cheap. They're like $1. In fact, $1 or maybe $2, and they're offering silly things like, oh, you can respond. You get everything from special emojis to write in the chats to to more valuable things that fans might want to see, like first access to videos before they go public, or with videos without the ads, where they obviously have taken ad dollars, and they're not hiding it. They're like, hey, this is how we keep our channel running. Yeah. We're gonna push this product or whatever in the middle of a video. But I think it's a good thing for the creators, it makes sense that you're saying that why would a business try to monetize their stream? It's more of a marketing tool to get their name and their word out and their product out there, right? So
So here's what I tell people is sort of my take on having built a system. So anybody who's watching who doesn't know, Doug and I work at One for All Social, which is behind Doug and not behind me, and I'm the founder, and I should probably leave it back there all the time, but I don't do that. So we built a system that actually helps you get your message seen. So we track this stuff very carefully. And what I tell people is we can get you all the right hashtags. We can get you all the right keywords. We can help you develop the right content. None of that matters if the only thing you do on your platform is spam, right? So if, like, take a restaurant, for instance, if you're only saying, hey, $5 hamburger, whatever the number is, right? Just come by tonight and buy this. Come by tonight and buy that. So I see a lot of content creators or creators who are artists or writers or whatever. The only thing they ever post is like, hey, buy my book, or hey, buy this or buy that. You have to really run a balance in between sort of, it's social media. You have to be social. Right. So restaurants are easy because everybody likes to look at pictures of food. I mean, I do, but that's pretty simple. So, to be truly algorithm friendly, you really have to have a balance of stuff that's sort of business oriented and stuff that's more social driven. And if you don't, like Doug said, if you're not going to go in there and engage with people, what's the point to being on there? And you're not going to be as dominant in the space as you normally are. So like Twitter, if you take that particular platform, it's over system wide, its engagement average is like still less than 1%. So we're doing things to make that better, but it's still less than 1%. But I run mine as sort of a, hey, here's the stuff I like to talk about. Here's a little bit of stuff about my business, and here's just me being me because it's social media and that's what you do. And it gives me a place to go vent about my kids, and that's fine. They're teenagers. I'm allowed to vent on occasion. And they're good kids.
Does that mean I have to wait? Does that mean I can't vent about my 1-year-old?
You can, but report cards came out today, and I'm not allowed to vent because everybody got straight A's. So I'm like,
oh,
no complaints. But it, and as a result of me actually doing that engagement stuff, where I actually will talk to people. If you're pleasant to me, I'll talk to you. If you're a complete jerk, I'm probably going to block you. I mean, just be honest. I don't really care to fight with you online. That's not why I'm there. I prefer to take the Bugs Bunny approach, where I'm really nice and I just want to kiss Elmer Fudd instead of blast him in the face with a shotgun. Okay, that made Elmer Fudd matter, but still. And as a result, I'm running a 5%, 4.9% engagement rate over there with a couple million posts in the last 2 weeks. So those sorts of things can happen. But what also happens when you drive that engagement, or you put engaging posts up there, or you're willing to engage with people, your following goes through the roof. So like I'm picking up 20, 30, 50 followers a day. I'm picking up almost 60 over on YouTube because I'm kind of, even when people leave comments, I will respond back to them, or I try to. I mean, I get them all, but I get most of them. So if you want to be algorithm friendly, be engaging. If you're not going to engage and you just want to do like what some people do, they call it post and ghost. They post something and disappear. You're not going to get seen as much. The algorithm's not going to like you. It's social media. You have to be social. You can't just be spam, and you can't just be like post and run. That's not the way it works.
I like to, with my clients, I try to identify, kind of back to your point about finding that balance. I try to identify at least 5 content pillars that we can pull from, and promotional is one of many content pillars. And we look at what kind of educational posts is there PR that we're doing? Is there employee advocacy that we're doing? Is there stuff that's just fun and entertaining that we can do? And that way we make sure that when we're building our content strategy and we're pulling in things from what might be the blog or email channels or other areas where we're producing content, that there is a balance. So we're not leaning too heavily into like promotional posts, or leaning too heavy into things that like nobody cares about or nobody wants to hear, or they don't want to be spammed. So I think it's really important to sit down and look at what kind of content can you produce from all angles so that you're towing that balance really delicately.
Yeah. I mean, I was frustrated for a long time that I wanted to try to control certain discussions on social sites, like especially on X, and you found out you just can't do that. Right. So as somebody who's written a couple of books and I read a lot, I'm like, oh, I'd love to discuss books. And I post a picture of a book like, hey, I just read this one. I want to talk about it. And everybody wants to talk about the cover art. And I'm like, guys, there's actually words in the freaking book. Right. But I found I'm like, okay, if I stop getting angry about it and I start going, okay, great, but how does the cover art relate to the inside? You have some kind of a message that comes along with it. People actually will, kind of shift that conversation. But, it's a very visually driven medium, I find. So if you don't have something that kind of pulls people's eyeballs in, no matter what else you want to talk about, nobody's going to care, right? So, and that's what Instagram has made its bread and butter, right? So Twitter is one algorithm, and it's different. It's more like a public square conversation. It always has been. Threads is a little bit like Twitter. I think Meta did it to kind of be a Twitter competitor, and it's getting bigger. It's still hundreds of millions. It's not nearly as big as Twitter itself, and it's nowhere near the size of algorithm or Facebook or Instagram or Facebook, but it's getting bigger. And I found its algorithm is actually shockingly sensitive. If you say something once, that's kind of all that shows up in your feed. And because I made a comment once about a good date I had, and like for 3 weeks, all I saw was dating stories, and I'm like, okay, I just need to talk about something else. Then I did, and it just shifted completely. But Instagram kind of its bread and butter is visual, right? I think more people look at the images than are ever going to look at the words that accompany that image, right? So,
yeah, that's why you see a lot of people say, look at the caption, or now read my caption for more information. So
yeah, and they put that in the image, right? It's like, read the caption. And so you
Yep.
have to actually kind of get in people's face, like use the words that, by the way, Doug does all my thumbnails because I'm terrible at it. So thank Doug for nice thumbnails. But, you have to put it like kind of in people's face, like, social media algorithms, pay attention, look. And what I would tell people with that is, if you want to be algorithm friendly and the algorithms getting smart enough to figure this out, you're going to do a thumbnail. Remember, your type size matters, and it needs to be at a resolution that can work on my phone or on my TV, because like YouTube, especially, people are looking out on massive screens. Instagram, not so much, but some of the other platforms, people look at on massive screens. So if you're using low resolution and it gets grainy on those big screens, they're going to downgrade you. And even Instagram is going to look at your image resolution and say, if it's grainy, it's not getting placement, right? So your image quality really matters. So like the one that's behind Doug, the AI powered platform for influencers and businesses, that's about as small a type size as I would ever tell people to use. And that's probably even borderline too small. It probably needs to be a little bit bigger, because the algorithm,
a lot of words too,
too many words, right? So you got to be short, you got to be pithy. And then the algorithm is like, okay, cool. Now we'll show you, because people have a short attention span. And unless you pull them in, they're going to, doom scroll right past you.
Think of them like billboards driving down the highway. You really, people's attention is elsewhere. If you're going to get their attention or get something to stick, it's got to be short, pop, that sort of thing.
And Devin, I'd love to hear you expand on this one. You guys said a lot about consistency. What's a pace you like to see your clients keep on any of the platforms to kind of keep the algorithm refreshed and remember that they're alive?
Oh man, this is another question that I kind of it's hard for me to say, because I don't know who the audience is. Who am I talking to, and how often are they online, and when are they online, and what is our goal? Are we trying to get them to engage with the social media posts? Are we trying to get them to view our reels? Are we trying to get them to share stuff or save stuff? I no less than like at least 4 or 5 times a week, I feel like, is like the bare minimum. But really, if we're like, I have a client that's starting from zero, like we're building brand new social media accounts, brand new everything. And luckily he's a business that he has kind of a reputation. He kind of already has a reputation and knows people. He's going to be a brick and mortar business. He knows people in the community. So it should be fairly easy growth from there. But we will start out like running through the gates of Helm's Deep, like going at it full force, to start. And then once we kind of have some data to look at and say, hey, these are posts that people are engaging with, and these are this is when those people are online, or this is how often they're, looking at your content, we can kind of tailor our cadence to his audience a little bit.
Those first 100 followers are the toughest. I mean,
it's hard starting from zero. It's real hard. So
because I've had people come to me, it's like, oh, should I start one Twitter account, or should I start one Instagram, or should I start 4? Like just one, like just one. Don't try to start 4.
Don't dilute your brand. Just do the one and focus on doing it really well.
Yeah. Authentic, connecting with those first followers, because it will get easier and you'll build your voice. But that beginning is tough. And by all means, do not fall for any of these buy follower.
No. Yeah.
Devaney and I have some experience with that years ago.
Unfortunately,
It's funny you should mention that, Doug, because I've been working on this one for like a couple of days. So Twitter, when they started monetizing, they've shifted how they monetize a couple of times. And now nobody's really exactly sure what they're basing how much you make on. But the one thing they have said is the only thing that counts is engagement, but only engagement with verified accounts. So the blue checkmark accounts. Okay. So engagement truly matters. And if you go buy accounts to follow you, they're not going to have the blue checkmark. They're not going to have a verified anything. And I've noticed the other algorithms, like let's say you have a bunch of followers, all of whom have 6 followers and no posts, right? Which is what you're going to buy you click on one of those ads that say get 20,000 followers, whatever it is. You're getting accounts that are ghost accounts that aren't real numbers. They don't post anything. They don't interact with anything. So all the algorithms, Twitter and Instagram and others, are now looking at the quality of your followers as part of that. So if you've got, like, take YouTube, if you've got, and I've seen this happen with a couple of channels, they get to like 100,000 subscribers, and then all of a sudden their views start going to like 0 for all their new stuff. It's like, well, with that many subscribers, they should have more. It's because you've done the same video with the same stuff about 97 times, and even your subscribers stopped watching, right? So, content is king, and the quality of those subscribers, because they're not actually watching you, drives into that. So you can have all the subscribers you want, but if they don't tune in, it doesn't care. The same thing over on X, the same thing on Instagram, the same thing on Threads. If your followers aren't engaging with you, the algorithms are not going to give you placements. Like, I had a couple of posts yesterday that started off kind of slow, and then all of a sudden, they hit this sort of weird 10% engagement threshold, and they went from 600 views to like 6,000 views within 2 hours. And it's because the algorithm was like, well, a lot of people are engaging with this. Let's drive that one, right? So it's all about that engagement, and you're not going to get that if you buy followers. I mean, it's just stupid numbers on a screen. They don't mean anything.
And it can actually hurt you more than help you. So
absolutely, you need to have an actual following that is organic, not sort of purchased.
Yep.
And that's the toughest thing in the world to build. And it's never going to happen by just going viral. It's not going to happen by, oh, what's the magic thing I need to go post to do that? If there was a formula to it, it wouldn't matter. And it's different for everything. So, like, I'm really into Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you can see my Hellfire Club shirt. I wore the fancy shirt today. It's got long sleeves, so it's like the formal version. But I engage a lot with that community because I know it. And any community, if you try to go out there and engage with it and you're not genuine, they're going to sniff that out, because there's experts on this stuff out there. So, like, I will talk a little bit about physics because my PhD's in that, right? So, and people now will come to me with questions like, hey, have you seen this? And can you answer a question about it? But because I've actually honestly answered and not just made crap up, right? So you see people that just sort of throw crap against the wall, and those accounts get big, but then they crash very quickly. So, you've got to be genuine and just kind of talk about what you know, or at least learn something about it before you say anything. That's I think is the important part. So, like, Doug could talk about saxophones all day long, right? So, because Doug plays sax, although he will not play yakety sax for me, and I've been asking, but that's beside the point.
6,000 followers on one, or 6,000 subscribers on One for All, and then I'll play it.
Okay. But it, you get to certain numbers, and it's just like, okay, that doesn't really matter, but you need that engaged following. And if you get that engaged following, every algorithm out there is going to love you.
Yep.
And I think that's why Joe Rogan has such wild success, is because his followers are freaking engaged with everything he does. Right? They're on there saying, yeah, this is great, or that's great, or whatever, and he's grown to be massive. Right?
He knows his niche for sure.
Yeah,
he knows his audience. I was thinking, I don't know if you guys know who Keith Lee is on TikTok. He's the guy that like goes into restaurants and will like order food from a restaurant and then sit in his car and like
yeah.
I think of him a lot, because when I explain to people that they need to have content that's authentic and engaging, like, I know that it's just a guy sitting in a car eating food, but his reactions and his like genuine investment in these restaurants and like the food that he's eating and making sure that he's communicating exactly what his experience is so like, it's so authentic that it's almost endearing to like see him go into a restaurant and say, hey, this is a mom and pop place. I ordered $50 worth of food. My sister went in and got it, or whoever, my mom went in. I'm sitting in my car eating. Let's rate it 1 through 10. And you can see whether it's good or bad based on his face as he's eating whatever he's eating. It doesn't take, it's not rocket science to create content that people want to see. It just be authentic, find a niche and go for it.
Yeah. He came through Dallas and he was kind of answering questions, because I pegged him with one. I'm like, why do you not go in? He goes, because he's actually big enough now that the restaurants will recognize him. Yep. And they're going to treat him differently. So he's like, I want to just, be like the guy that has food. I want the same treatment as everybody else. That way I'm not, saying, oh, look, this one's great, And the other thing I've noticed is and I want everybody to know this, like, the algorithms, all the platforms are now, if you're sponsored by somebody, that you have to say it. Like, I can't just like, if like the other day I was talking about something with Dungeons and Dragons, and some people disagreed with me and like, oh my God, you're just a corporate Hasbro shill. I'm like, look, my account is big enough that if Hasbro was paying me, I'd have to say it, or I could be kicked off the platform.
Yeah.
Right. So I was kind of honest. I'm like, the only paycheck I get is from One for All, and it's the company I own, and I'm not even talking about it. Right. So I'm like, if Hasbro was sponsoring me, I would tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd know it in a minute, right? And it wouldn't be like, hey, I bought the book and I read it and I liked it, whatever. So when people go out and say, oh, it's just a shill for this or that, the algorithms have fixed that one, and you will lose your account. And if you're monetized, you will lose it in a minute if you're pushing something and you don't tell people it's a paid advertisement.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll lose it like that. I mean,
they're trying to uphold some level of transparency on the internet.
Yeah, which is kind of cool in a way. Okay, so I'm just pretty much going to leave it at that. But I think the thing we've established here is the algorithm is your friend. Engagement truly matters, and organic growth is the only thing that matters. And the number one thing I tell people, and then I'll leave it to you two to sound off with this as well. We have some cool tools. Other companies have cool tools. There are certain tricks you can use to kind of make sure your message gets seen, but you got to have a good message. Content is king. Nothing else matters other than your content. The rest of it is just going to help you be seen. If you have crap content, you're going to get crap results no matter how good your tools are. You can still get crap results with good content. So the right tools and the right information do help, but content matters more than anything else. So
you're here.
Devaney then Doug, and we'll call it a day. So
yeah. I mean, that's it. Content is king, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Work with a content strategist that knows what your business is about, or knows what you're trying to do, and make content that you like and that other people are going to like.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the important part, that you like as well, because you'll go miserable otherwise creating stuff that you're not even into. The authenticity, we said this before, the authenticity comes through in your content. So should be. And then I'll do the shameless plug, and you use a system like a One for All Social, 048.com, to cut down on the mechanics,
which does pay Doug, by the way.
Yes, so clearly. But I mean, even if I wasn't paid for it, I'd say using a tool to manage and get your content out there will save you a ton of time in going into each individual platform. But use the right tool. And yes, I'm biased. 048.com. So.
And if you do sign up, Doug will actually be one of the people that emails you and offers to run a demo. So
authentic, it will be me, not a bot, not some automated system. It's going to be me working with you. So.
It could be me. You never know. They as the chief technical officer, they try not to let me talk to people too often. So I wind up doing other stuff. But anyway, all right. Thanks, Doug. All right, everybody. I hope you've had a good day. We'll talk again soon. If you guys can stick around for a minute, I'm ending the stream.